TSPN presents Love, Hope, and Faith with Heather Murdock.
Good morning and welcome to Love, Hope, and Faith. My name is Heather Murdock and I'm so delighted to be with you today. I love Wednesdays. What a great show I have planned out today. But if you've never watched Love, Hope, and Faith, I want you to know what this is all about. This is more than a TV show. This is a ministry where I am honored and just so excited to share my faith in Jesus. And I have a passion for the Lord. And the fact that I get to share Him with you every week is just such a huge blessing to me. So thank you for tuning in today. And if you'd like to catch other episodes of Love, Hope, and Faith, you can go to tspntv.com website. It's a great website where all the other programming for TSPN is available, and my show is there as well. And also you can go to heathermurdock.com, which is my blog, my website where I share the shows, and I also share my personal journey. I love to write and express myself through writing and share my faith journey with you through that way as well. So there's a couple different ways to watch it. You can go to YouTube, Love, Hope, and Faith with Heather Murdock on YouTube as well. So there's many ways to catch the show because I've just had some tremendous guests with amazing God stories that will really touch your heart and inspire you and encourage you. And that's my prayer, that if you're watching the show today, that you will be encouraged to have a deeper, more committed relationship with Jesus. And if you don't know Jesus, that you will be encouraged and inspired to get to know Him. And I invite you to let Him into your life. He wants to have a relationship with you. And if you're like most people, like myself, you've been through trouble in your life. You've had hurts and disappointments. We all have. And, it's hard. It can be hard to overcome those things. It can be hard to let go. And the Lord encourages us to let go and to forgive and to make amends with people in our lives and to have those healthy relationships. And He actually wants to use the hurts that you've been through. He wants to use them for ministry to others. And if you give God a chance, He will absolutely turn those ashes into beauty. And it reminds me of a scripture that I wanted to share this morning. I'll have to put my glasses on so I can actually see. And the scripture this morning I want to share with you is 2 Corinthians 1, 3, and 4. And it says, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God." So He wants to use our suffering to offer others encouragement, to offer others His love, and to birth ministry within us. And I have two guests on my show today. They're just wonderful, awesome people, and they love Jesus too. And this is Joe and Bob Frick. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
That was a mouthful I just said, huh? All in one stream there. But I'm so delighted to have you guys on the show today, and thank you so much for your willingness to share your stories.
We're glad to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I should say you go to the local, all of a sudden my mind just went blank. The Foursquare, and it's the New Life Christian Center,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great church.
Across from the
Yes.
bowling alley.
That's right.
Yeah.
A little bowling, a little church, you can't
Yes.
go wrong.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like family.
Yes.
We love it.
Yeah, I mean, Jay and Patty are wonderful people, and I
Yeah.
told you guys off camera, I really want to get them on my show, so put in a good word for me.
Yes.
Yeah, they have a lot to share. They have a lot of
Yeah.
passion
Oh,
and
yeah.
a lot of knowledge and a lot of experiences that they could really bless the viewers with. So, yeah. So we were talking too. We have a great community full of some wonderful churches here. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So good. So I know that you actually have a book you're going to share today because you are now an author.
Yes.
So doesn't that sound good?
Yes.
But before we get to the book, I really want to talk to you. I want to get to know you guys better and have the viewers get to know your hearts and where you've been in your life. So we'll start with you, Joe. Tell me about yourself. How did you become a believer?
Well, when I was 4 years old, my mother dropped me off at Sunday school because that was the thing you did back then, you know. She didn't stay with me, but later on in high school she started going to church with me. So I have a brother and a sister, and they also went to church with me, but I was the one that it stuck with, and I was the sort of the preacher in the family sometimes.
Okay.
But I also went to a one-room country school, and my teacher for first grade through sixth grade was a Christian. We sang hymns for our music class, and it probably was more like 1950 when she said, Israel has become a nation and Jesus is coming back soon, you know. So I grew up just being in church and loving to be in church. That was a place to be.
Why do you think your mom dropped you guys off at church and didn't come initially?
I don't know.
She obviously must have felt very led to make sure you guys were exposed to the
Well, I think it was part of the culture. Now, my dad was not a believer.
Okay.
And I don't know that he ever made it. I hope I'll be
Yeah.
surprised to see him in heaven.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that
yeah.
would be wonderful. But it might have been because of that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So you had a foundation then as a child.
Yes.
Upbringing in the
Yes.
church. Good. Okay. And when did Jesus become when did you develop that personal relationship with him?
Well, it was really quite a ways down. In high school, it was, you know, we don't smoke and we don't chew and we don't go with those that do.
Yeah.
You know, that performance thing, you know. We need to look good and do the right thing. But I think when we moved to Alaska after I married Bob, in the Lutheran church, I began to learn about a personal relationship with the Lord, even though I had been through some troubles prior to that. I mean, that's when I started getting into the Word and having that personal relationship. And then I got into Bible study fellowship, which was awesome.
Yes, I love Bible study.
Yes.
I mean, I remember when I first became a believer, and I was so hungry for God's Word. I mean, I was older, I was 38, and I was just like, I couldn't get enough of this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have to get into Bible study so I can learn about this. And I really attribute getting right away into Bible study as being a huge advantage for me in terms of growing my faith really quickly. You know, so yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you have more of your story, way more of your story, but I want to actually kind of find out a little bit from Bob.
Uh-oh.
Okay? Because us women, we could do all the talking.
Yeah.
We're going to let you talk a little
I'm a
bit
good
today,
listener.
though. So tell me about your upbringing in the church.
We went to church Sundays. That was it. Lutheran church, and that was my family's church, coming from a Swiss, Austrian, Liechtenstein, German family.
Okay.
And that basically was it. We just went to church.
Because it was the right thing to do.
It was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I went to parochial school up until, I think, the 6th grade. It was just the thing to do.
Right. Yeah.
And it wasn't personal to me. It was just, that's what everybody did. Yeah.
And I was telling you guys off camera, it's so interesting the culture shift now, because you guys are both talking about just on Sundays you go to church. And I was sharing with you that my son, who's 10, just last weekend noticed as we drove out of the driveway on Sunday morning to go to church, he said, look how many people are still in their driveways. I thought it was really interesting that he would notice that.
Yes.
That so many people don't go to church. They just don't know what they're missing.
Yes.
I love church.
right.
It's just awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So you said that you didn't really have the personal relationship as a child.
No, not at all.
Was there a moment that changed for you?
About 30 years ago, I went on to college. I went on to the Navy and flight training and such like that, and served in the service. And when I was in the Philippines, there was a little church over there. It was a military establishment, but I sang in the choir there. No, I'm not going to sing in the choir this Christmas. And there was a feeling that God was there. I saw some things that I knew that God's hand was there and was protecting me. And got out of the Navy, and then the rest of the story continues.
Okay, good. We're going to kind of bounce back and forth today because I want to kind of keep you guys in the same point. So, Joe, I know you have quite a testimony to share. I think that a lot of women will relate to. And why don't we just kind of go from there?
Go into that
part?
Well, as I said before, for me, being a Christian was just doing the right thing, you know. I don't know if it was legalistic. In college, I was in a Methodist girls club because that was a safe place to be, you know. And but after college, I went to Western Michigan University, but then my roommate and I moved to Denver, Colorado to seek our fortune, right? And I was a fourth grade teacher there, and it was interesting, but in that period of time, I found that I was pregnant and not married.
Okay.
And
how old were you?
I was 24.
24, okay.
Yes. And I remember back in college, my roommate had to get married, and I cried 3 days over that. And now here
you were.
Yeah, here I was. And, as I look back on it now, the Lord allowed that to happen, and like I always say, He doesn't waste our suffering,
That's right. That's
He
right.
used that experience.
How did
I
you
guess-
feel? I want to explore a little bit how you
Whoa.
felt. I mean, did you have shame?
Oh my goodness, shame upon shame, because my relationship with the Lord was performance-based, and so, that just,
So you felt that you just really blew it?
oh, terrible.
Yeah. So is it fair to say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is it fair to say that as a result of growing up in the church and being a performer by, maybe that's part of your nature, I don't know, but
Yeah.
or you felt you had to, do you feel like you had maybe some spiritual pride that I know all the right answers, I'm living everything the right way, and do you think that was a factor for you in making you feel so ashamed that you felt that
Yeah.
you knew everything right?
I wanted to do everything
Yeah.
right. I don't believe I thought I knew everything,
Yeah.
but I wanted to do everything right. And so I knew this was unbearable. So what happened was, I was a fourth grade teacher. I was 6 months pregnant when school got out in June of that year, 1966, and but nobody knew I was pregnant.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I went into a Florence Crittenden home for really about a month is all, because the Lord literally delivered me. I was due in September when school would be starting again, and if I was still pregnant at that time, I would have lost my job.
Oh, wow.
Because even if you were married and had a baby, you had to stay home for a year.
Okay.
Which is great. I mean,
Yeah,
they knew the
things
right
have
thing.
changed. Yeah.
Babies need their moms,
Exactly, yeah.
And so, I had named her Amy, and Amy was born July 10th,
Oh, wow.
7 weeks early. She
Oh,
was
wow.
a preemie, and so I got to see her once in the hospital and once in the. They didn't have adoptive parents picked out for her right away, so they put her in a foster home, and then I got to see her once. The foster mother brought her to the office, and I got to see her
Oh, wow.
and hold her in my arms, and she didn't open her eyes, but I got to see her, and this will figure later on in Bob's testimony, but I left her a Winnie the Pooh book to go with her, when she was adopted. So at any rate, life went on, and I met Bob shortly thereafter.
We're going to take a break. I want
Yeah.
to have a few more questions, though, about that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. You're watching your local television network, TSPN, and now back to Love, Hope, and Faith with Heather Murdock.
Welcome back to Love, Hope, and Faith. And I'm interviewing Bob and Joe Frick today. And Joe, one of the things that really we just kind of talked about on break, but one of the things that struck me in your story is that you kept it a secret even from your church. And of course, I mean, the church is the first place you would go to find the love and the support and the encouragement. Now, I mean, did you not feel that way then?
Well, because it was such a shameful thing,
Yeah.
I didn't want to share it with anyone.
Yeah.
But I was singing in the choir, and there was a man who was obstetrician. So I went to him, and that was good to have somebody that I knew.
Yeah.
And then the sponsor of the Young Career Group in the church was also a doctor, and he knew, and he was very, it was comforting,
Good.
you know, to have him know. So, as far as like getting prayer support like I would now, you
Right.
know,
Like
to
going to
do
your
that,
pastor and get, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was such a big church that
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone to the pastor.
Right.
But these two people were, you know, God provided them at that time.
Because I mean, the thing that comes to my mind is that the church, and I'm sure you guys will agree with this, the church should be the hospital for the sick. You know, the church is where you go when you're just like have nowhere else to turn, and the church would lovingly take you in and say, yeah, that was not right, but we love you and we're going to help you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just interesting. It's just a different time.
Yeah.
A different
Well,
time.
you know, years down the road, probably in the 80s when we were in California and a member of a Foursquare church in the Bay Area, we used to have a Thanksgiving service. In the morning of Thanksgiving. I loved those services. And we would come and share what we were thankful for, you know.
Yeah.
And this one gal who had gone through the same thing, being pregnant and out of wedlock, stood up and shared how the church had supported her
Awesome.
so much.
Yeah.
And we had, at that service, had taken, it was a friend of my brother's. She was here, I think she was becoming a physician and doing her, whatever they do here in a hospital in San Francisco. She was visiting. She wasn't a believer. I thought she was. But this really impressed her that the church just gathered around this gal and supported her
Yes.
in her situation.
And that's exactly what it should do. Yeah, that's awesome. Good, good. So I know that, and God has, I mean, that's not the end of the story. There's so much more how God's used that. But let's bring Bob in now. And so your wife, when did you tell him the story?
Well, let's see. I met him,
Tell them where.
let's see, Amy was born in July. Yes, I met him in a bar.
No.
Neither was strength.
Yeah. And but it was a place to go, you know.
Yeah,
After the
hang out.
young career group at church, we'd go to the bar.
Yeah, just hang out.
And so I met him. He'd just gotten out of the Navy. So I think it was maybe a couple of months into our dating relationship because I lived right across from the hospital where Amy was born. And so that would be a constant reminder,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
So one evening I finally told him, and his
What did
reaction.
you say? What was your reaction?
I can't say thrilled, I'd say elated, excited, because I was about to ask her to marry me. And I was going to get a twofer. I was going to get a wife and a daughter. I love little girls.
Yeah.
I love little girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we never had a daughter.
I never had a daughter. She liked I like boys, or she liked boys and I like girls.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have 3 sons.
Yeah. Yeah. She got what she wanted.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And I was just crushed. But I said something like, "Oh, that's interesting." And inside I was crying.
That she gave the
Yeah,
baby away.
yeah,
You wouldn't get to meet
because
her.
I wanted the daughter. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever meet Amy
Did I ever meet Amy?
after
Well,
the first?
The rest of the
after,
story.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is the rest of the story. It took 35 years. But yes, finally did meet her.
And how'd that happen?
Well, let's see. I always thought that when she turned 18, I would try to find her because it was a closed adoption. But time marched on. You know, we were raising 3 sons, and by the time, about 34 years later, I decided I wanted to do a search. And there were several times when I thought I had the right information, but it wasn't. So finally, I had a little girl in my Sunday school class who was adopted. She knew her birth mother, and I happened to sit next to her adoptive mom in church and told her that I was also a birth mother. And she said, "Well, are you interested in finding your daughter?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, I think I have the information that you need." So she emailed it to me. I took it down, put it in the file, because you know, you you look at it, you put it away. You look at it, you put it away. Well, finally, a few months later, when I looked at it, it was exactly what I needed. So I petitioned the juvenile court in Denver, and to get an intermediary to do the search, and it only took a little less than a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was she living?
She was living in Texas,
Uh-huh.
in Houston, Texas. And I received a letter from her before we actually met.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not to include any identifying information, but it did have her name there. And so her adoptive parents had named her Annette. And so she signed her name, Annette, and next to her name was a Winnie the Pooh sticker
Oh, yes.
saying, yes, I did get the book.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome.
that
was
But
she-
also,
awesome.
excuse me, but also we knew then that it was the right person.
yes, exactly.
Because Winnie the Pooh book was never discussed with anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So she knew that she was adopted then,
Yes,
obviously.
she always
Yeah.
knew she was adopted. She had an adopted brother.
And she
So-
had a good family adopted her.
Oh, that's the amazing part. I was raised in the Methodist church. Her parents were Methodist. Her mother was a teacher,
Oh my
an
gosh.
elementary teacher,
Wow.
and her father was a band director, and band was always an important part of my life.
Yeah, you were in the choir, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
trombone.
I played the
Oh,
trombone.
the trombone, good. That's cute. I love it.
Those short arms.
And so that was awesome. So we, what we did was we decided we would call each other on the phone, or I would call her. And so we set up a date that I would call, and we were both nervous, you know,
Yeah.
because it's like we never knew, each of us didn't know what we would find
Yeah.
on the other side
Exactly.
of things, you know.
Yeah.
Because I know from my experience at the pregnancy center, which we hadn't talked about, but
Yeah.
that sometimes when you're adopted, it's not always a happy situation. But so I found that she was married to a man who is a physician and an attorney. So she's been well taken care of.
Good.
She had a 10-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. So we talked for about an hour. We found out that we're both procrastinators. Now that doesn't come through the gene.
The tree, huh? Yeah.
So I thought, ooh, what's going on here? And but she has a very different personality than I. But
Do you guys look alike?
there is, the light skin and the blonde hair and the,
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. And you got to meet her adoptive parents as well?
No, and
okay.
I've always wanted to, to ask questions, what was she like growing up? But they were not happy to have me in the
Oh, they weren't.
picture,
Okay.
even though she was 35,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was a threat to them
Yeah, exactly.
in the back of their mind
Mm-hmm.
because they never could have children.
Okay.
That's why they adopted.
And they were afraid that
these
she
were
would-
their children. Yeah.
Right, exactly. They didn't want anyone else coming in and taking that,
Yeah.
replacing them.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That was never the intent.
No, of course not.
This,
Of course not.
This thing that we'll talk about later
Yeah.
was really an honor to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's so wonderful. So it has a great ending in terms of, because like you said, there are some stories. In fact, I'll share a little bit when I come back. I have a story too. But yeah, there can be some adverse circumstances that can make it a much more negative situation. So yeah. But what an awesome thing. And so you mentioned the Amador Pregnancy Center, and I've had the executive director on my show before, and so I know you're very involved with that.
Well, I was involved with the pregnancy center in the Bay Area.
Okay.
But when we moved up here, I got connected for a little bit.
Yeah.
But my emphasis I wanted to deal more with high school girls and whatnot.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So just like I said in the beginning of the show, the same comfort that we're given,
Yes.
we can give to others. And so God has been using your suffering and the pain, the shame that you went through.
Yeah.
Now you can minister, you know what they're going through, and now you can offer that same comfort to them.
Yes.
It's really a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the book, because the book is directly a result of this story.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Good. So we're going to take another break. We'll be right back.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. You're watching your local television network, TSPN, and now back to Love, Hope, and Faith with Heather Murdock.
And we always have great conversation off camera. And we're back with Love, Hope, and Faith and Joe and Bob Frick, and you're sharing your stories today so beautifully. And I just love to see, I can already see the way that God's weaving everything together and kind of now leading up to to your book. Tell us how you got inspired to make this a story.
I'm kind of a storyteller anyway.
I can see that about you.
Everybody knows that.
A lot of bull. Some of it. But when I found out that the adoptive parents of Amy, who's now Annette, in the book it's Amy, that their last name was King, bingo, there's a story there. So I started thinking about it, and I went for a couple of years, and all of a sudden, why don't I just write a story about it? It'll be kind of a make-believe, once upon a time type story. And so that's what the book is. It's a once upon a time story. It's kind of like a fairy tale with a little miracle happening in the middle of it. And it tells Joe's story and Annette's story.
So is the main character Joe or Annette? Or is it just the story? Does it have a main character? Yeah. Is it more told from your perspective, or is it told from Amy's or Annette's perspective?
I think yes, on both of those.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good. And so had you ever written any books before? Is this your first one?
Technical manuals I've been writing with the Navy and such like that, and the airlines, but never a story like this.
And how long did it take you to write it?
Well, it took maybe 6 months or 7 months, but I kept it on the side for about 18 years. Years, because it wasn't right. There was just something missing. And I looked at it, and there was little 4 pages or 3 pages of just little vignettes, you know, and it just wasn't right. And what was wrong with it was there was no artwork. It was not visual. It was just all
words. Yeah.
It was words. So then I started looking for an artist. And all the time I did this, no one knew that I was writing it. No one knew that I had a story.
Did she know?
No.
Oh, wow.
She didn't know until just this last
February.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Complete surprise.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a tear-jerking story, really. It's a wonderful story.
Well, you got to share that today.
Oh, I will. That's really a wonderful story. But I was looking all over for an artist because I didn't want a photograph, of these things.
Yeah.
And I didn't want kind of a misty thing. I wanted kind of a children's play-like, casual.
Yeah.
And I finally looked and looked and looked, and I found her sitting a row and a half or 2 rows in front of us in church.
Oh, wow. So 18 years you've had this story, and then you find her in church.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And
that's so God.
So God's fingerprints. And so we got together, and Sarah Etherington and her mother Pam, and the 3 of us got together and started planning, the pictures, what they're going to look like and how they're going to go. And I told her I wanted it in a very, very, casual way. I didn't want it formal, crisp pictures. I wanted, and that's what exactly she delivered. She delivered it in 3 mediums: charcoal, colored pencil, watercolor, and what was the other one? I forget.
I don't know.
She knows.
She knows.
And
so the first try she had it, or did you make a few modifications in there? Probably.
The first try she had it on most of the pictures. I asked her to do 1 or 2 of the pictures over, but it was the first try, and she said this was out of her normal way of doing things.
Wasn't her style.
It wasn't her style, and so she bent her style very beautifully.
So how did you feel as the author of this story, waiting all these years for the right visuals? How did you feel when you looked at her work for the first time?
Tearful.
Yeah.
It was God's thing. It was just beautiful. choking up now just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so we kept it a secret, complete secret. And so then I found a publisher and paid a lot of money to get the thing, you know, the thing published. You know, it's all published and lots of pictures.
Hold
and
it up
everything.
so the camera
Okay.
can see. Or actually, let me do it.
Okay,
I'll hold
yes,
it up. Yeah, I'll
please.
hold it up.
You'd be better.
Yeah, Austin will. There. Thank you, Austin.
Better background.
Yeah, zoom in. I just love the colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tears of the Heart. And if you want me to pull it up a little bit, there we go. And I'm just gonna open it too, just so people can get a. Because I love the people are so wispy. Or like
Yeah.
almost like French. It reminds me
Yeah,
of something
yeah.
French almost. I don't know. It's just so colorful and
That
homey.
That particular picture is of me and Joanna, Joe,
I was Joanna.
and the three boys. Joanna
That's
was.
my favorite picture.
And I just opened it up right to you. You see that? That was cute, huh?
You're dropping things out.
I'm dropping things all over the place. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to just do
The
another
last
picture
page?
here. Here's the last page. Well, here's one. The Love Miracle. And I love
Yeah.
that. Beautiful. There she is. That's Amy.
That page you're going to read and you're going to cry.
Okay.
I think about it and I'm starting to cry now.
Well, do you want to read a page?
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah. Why don't you do that for us?
Oh, not this one.
Okay. Read whatever you want. Just to
want me to read it?
give the viewers a little taste
Yeah,
of how
you
it's
can-
written.
Okay, first of all, it's a story about, as Joe was saying, Joanna is the lady in the book, and Joe's name was Joe Ann, and her last name started with A, like Anderson or Amy or something like that. So Joanne So, and I was going to originally put a capital J, O-A-N-N, capital A.
Yeah.
I said, no, that's too obvious.
Yeah.
So it's just like the by R.F. Martin. My middle name is Martin, and it's Robert Frick Martin. So I just put R.F. Martin.
Good. Perfect. I know how authors do that. They kind of
Yeah,
blend
yeah,
things
yeah.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead and read us a page.
So
or
you
whatever.
lost the page.
I lost the page.
I'm sorry. You know, that was my fault.
Or I could
No,
read
that's
that.
all right. Here.
In the very
Let's
back
see.
of the book, there's a 2.5 page black and white. This is not for the kids, it's just for the parents, of how and why it was written.
Good. Yeah. Explains
Yeah.
the whole.
It explains all the little symbols in it
Yeah.
and everything. Okay. It starts out with,
With the teacher Joanna
yes.
adopting a little kitten, and her roommate was allergic to kittens, so she could not keep the kitten. She had to give the kitten up for adoption.
Oh. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
And
Okay.
but before she gave the kitten up for adoption, she had 2 silver earrings, little bells.
We should have brought that.
So we should have. So she took one of the little bells and put it on a blue ribbon and tied it around the kitten's neck. And she kept the other earring.
I love it. So you've taken the facts and made them a little different.
A little differently.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Okay, the castle. When Amy the kitten went to the adoption shelter, the adoption people already had a home selected for the kitten. This was true. Far away there was a king and a queen, royalty, and they really, adoptive parents are royalty as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
And their last name was
King. Yes. That's
So that-
perfect.
yes.
I love it.
King and Queen, that had always wanted children but could not have any. One of the king's wise counselors suggested that they adopt a pet instead, perhaps a kitten. He told the king and the queen that if they would love the kitten, truly love the kitten, they would never be lonesome again. This then was the new home for little Amy.
And so, as the story goes on, the kitten brings joy to the family and everything, and the king and queen one day go on a trip. When they come back, the kitten is gone. And the kitten, the counselors say, the kitten is gone, but in its place is the daughter you have always wanted.
Oh my gosh.
So, the kitten has become the daughter they
Yeah.
always wanted.
I love it.
And
it's a
then
fairy
la-
tale.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Then later on in the story, Joanna goes to meet the king and queen, and their daughter is there to be shown to the public, and so the daughter hears a ringing bell,
A little bell.
Oh.
and it's Joanna's earring.
the crowd was very quiet because the princess was coming up on, and they were all query. But she hears the bell. He says, "That's my bell! That's my bell!" And all of a sudden, the guards come rushing in to see who made this commotion, and everybody's pointing at her. So she's ushered up on the stage, and the king and the queen come in and say, they explain the story, the miracle and everything.
Oh, I have chills.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And and I knew nothing that he was writing this book. Well, a couple of weeks before he presented it to me, we were in the Bay Area in a fabric store, and he bought some blue ribbon. Did I question that? No. I don't know why he's buying it, but he was making the ribbon. He had little silver earrings, and so the way he had two packages for me, and he mailed 2 packages to Annette, my daughter, in Texas. She's now in Dallas, and said, we're going to call you at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Be sure and have Philip there, her husband. So we called, and he had us open the first package, and it was a blue ribbon with a silver bell. Oh. Bob put it around my neck, and Philip put it around Annette's neck. Oh. And then we opened the second package, and it was the book.
The first they'd ever seen or even imagined.
I had no clue.
What were you thinking, Joe?
I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But so he had me read it. So I started reading, and a couple of pages in, I thought, oh no. Oh yes, this is our story, and that's in my story. So I started crying. So Annette said, would you like me to continue reading? So she started reading. Then she started to cry, and then I took over again. And the last page says, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, love never fails. And that really made me cry because...
Okay, I'm going to cry.
Because God's fingerprints were all over this story.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is so beautiful. That is such a beautiful story. And if you only knew, Joe, that back then, the shame that you went through, the secrecy, the guardedness that you had to live during that time, did you ever in a million years imagine that God would do something like this?
Not in a million years.
So
and the secrecy, my dad never knew.
You know what, I'm sorry, I want you to hold that thought. I want to catch up with that when we get back from break. We'll be right back.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. You're watching your local television network, TSPN, and now back to Love, Hope, and Faith with Heather Murdock.
Welcome back, and we are at the final segment for Love, Hope, and Faith, and I hope you've been blessed by this story today. I know I have, and I did cut you off when you were going to say regarding the secrecy of that time.
Yes, my father never knew, but I told my mom 20 years after the fact, and she said, I'm surprised, but it doesn't change the way I feel about you. She knew how to love unconditionally.
Yes. And she never did get to meet Annette.
No.
And then I asked you about the boys, your 3 boys.
Yes. I had forgotten about that part. After that first letter, connecting with Annette, then we went to meet her in Houston at her home. That was really awesome, Philip behind her taking pictures and Bob behind me taking pictures. Then we walked into her beautiful home, and there on the coffee table was the Winnie the Pooh book in perfect condition because her mom didn't give it to her until she had her first child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then after that, we went back home. 9/11 happened, right the next day. So it was good. God had us go early, right away, so we weren't bothered with having trouble getting there. Anyway, the next March or April, Annette and Philip and Hayden and Keeley came to visit us in the Bay Area on vacation, and we did all the vacation stuff with them. Then they even got to go to church with us, which was really great. And then we had a Thanksgiving dinner in March to thank God for what he had done for us.
Yes.
So the boys, our 3 boys, were able to meet Annette.
How old were they at this time?
They were, let's see, I can't remember what year it was. It was 2002.
Okay.
So,
So they're grown.
yeah. Oh, yeah, they were grown. Yeah.
Had you told them about this, though, when they were kids?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
I did. I said, hey, don't bump your head on the same rock I did, you know.
Yes, exactly.
So-
It's so good that you share that, because I really believe in that. That we share with our kids when they're ready.
Yeah.
The transparency.
When they're
like
ready,
that.
it
Yeah.
was each a different time in their lives
Yeah,
that I told them.
exactly. So you had this one big happy family, just
Yeah.
reunited in Jesus, and everyone
Yes.
being believers, and
Yes.
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was the exciting thing, because I'd been in a couple of prayer groups, and our prayer had always been, my prayer was that she would be a believer. So not only was she a believer, that she grew up in the same Methodist church that I did,
that's fantastic.
So
Yeah.
that was so wonderful.
Yeah. And so, so getting back now to the story and how you delivered the story to them.
Yes.
What was Philip's reaction, the husband?
Oh, I should have wrote that letter.
Oh,
He wrote
yes.
he wrote a letter, and it was just the most beautiful, beautiful, thanking us for what Joe had done, because without her, he would not have these beautiful children and
Oh,
that
yes.
beautiful, magnificent wife that he had.
Oh,
It was
wow.
just beautiful.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
That first trip that we made to their place,
Oh,
they
yes.
had a dinner, invited his 2 brothers, and then welcomed us into their family.
Yeah.
Philip gave a toast thanking, me for what I had done. But this is the thing. For several years on Annette's birthday, he sends me an email thanking me for what I did. Because
Yes,
he has
yes,
the wife that he
yes,
has because of
yes.
that.
Yeah.
So he is so sweet.
It reminds me of my favorite scripture that I probably quote every time I'm every Wednesday, and that is that it's my life verse, which is, and we know that in all things God works together for the good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. Everything works together for good. In some way, and it may not be in our time, it may not be something that we see, but we can trust that. And this is a beautiful picture that He's worked all things together for good. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
What an amazing God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now the book, what are you doing with the book now? If we want to share where people can buy the book and how can they get a copy?
The Lighthouse, the Bible bookstore, it's there
Locally,
locally. If you want, you can
Amazon.
Amazon, but they charge a little bit too much. And or you can send to the post office box 834, Jackson, California 95642, and put it at Bob Frick, Tears of the Heart, Joe Schmutz, anything. I get all sorts of mail in there. Anything that says 834,
Yeah.
they just shove it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
Because
book-
your intent is to minister to people, obviously. Yeah,
yes,
you want it to reach
yes.
people so that
Yeah.
people can be encouraged and,
Yes.
and inspired. And
Yeah.
and you have the scripture in the back of it,
Yes.
so it's important.
What we would like to do, and haven't gotten around to do it yet, was to send it to the 2 main organizations that have pregnancy centers. And because this would be a neat book to have in every
Yes.
pregnancy center to give girls hope.
You need to
know.
do that. Yes.
Yeah, you need to do it.
Absolutely. Because there's the one in Calaveras County, right?
Yeah, they
Door
have
of
a
Hope.
copy.
Oh, good.
But
Okay.
this they are through CareNet, which is the big organization that oversees many pregnancy centers.
Okay.
And then there's another one, the same type of thing.
And I just love the story because it just people, not to get up on any kind of platform about what to do when you're pregnant, and it's something that if you don't want to keep the child. But the choice of adoption is such a beautiful choice.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful choice. There's so many people like this couple,
Yes.
the king and queen, who could never have children,
Yes.
who would love to have a beautiful child. And it's it can be such a beautiful, giving thing, selfless, and can turn out this way.
Well, isn't that what Christianity is all about?
Yes.
God has adopted us
Yes.
into His family.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Very
wonderful.
awesome.
It's very awesome. So we have just a few minutes, actually. Yeah, just a few minutes, and then I want to read from the devotion for
Yes.
today. But what else do you want What else do you want to share, Joe? Anything else you feel like you want to share today about the book, or what's your hope?
My hope is that it gets out and people start realizing that it's not just the fairy book. There's a real story there for them also.
Yes.
Because I don't think there's anybody on this planet, anywhere in the United States, that does not know a person that has been adopted, or they're not adopted themselves.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes. And my hope would be that there are so many young girls that think having a baby, even raising a baby by themselves, is going to be lots of fun. They have no clue.
Yeah.
And adoption makes so much more sense because fathers are so important
Yes.
in a child's life.
Yes.
And that's why that was one of the things behind me giving up Amy for adoption, was that I wanted her to have a father.
Yes.
And in today's culture, fathers are missing in so many families.
I know. It's just heartbreaking what that causes, not just for young women, but for young men that aren't raised with their fathers. And it's just decaying our society.
Yeah.
It's a huge issue, issue. So I'm so glad you said that. Yeah. Thank you guys for being on today.
Yes.
You were wonderful. And
Thank
you
you
for your transparency and being willing to share that. I know in the 60s it was unheard of, and now it's so common. But the pain is still the same, whether it's then or now.
Yeah.
So then in that pain, there's hope.
Yeah.
And God can use that to bring people to Him,
And you always remember, it's always in your mind, despite what the people say, it'll just go away.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
You'll always have it with you.
Yes, exactly.
Adoption is the option.
I like that.
Yes.
That's a good slogan.
Yes.
Good. Well, I'm going to read from Jesus Calling today. And today is October 9th? Yeah, okay. You have been on a long uphill journey, and your energy is almost spent. Though you have faltered at times, you have not let go of my hand. I am pleased with your desire to stay close to me. There is one thing, however, that displeases me, your tendency to complain. Okay, Lord, you may talk to me as much as you like about the difficulty of the path we are following. I understand better than anyone else the stresses and strains that have affected you. You can ventilate safely to me because talking with me tempers your thoughts and helps you to see things from my perspective. Complaining to others is another matter altogether. It opens the door to deadly sins such as self-pity and rage. Whenever you are tempted to grumble, come to me and talk it out. As you open up to me, I will put my thoughts in your mind and my song in your heart. Isn't that beautiful? That's so beautiful. I love Jesus Calling. And it kind of fits today, You could sit back in life and have pity parties. We could sit back in life and have pity parties about the way God's not answering prayers, or how could I be here, Lord, and why did you let this happen to me? But the choice is we do all have choice. And I love the fact in your story here that you've chosen to give it to God, literally, and trust Him in the process. And we all have that choice every day, right? We all have choices every day to make. In fact, my daughter, it's so funny, she's 12. And I think 12 is a difficult age because they're going through the hormones and, they're...
tweens.
Exactly. So it's been tough. And she's been complaining quite a bit lately. And so I've really been talking to her about this very thing, And I told her, I said, with God, He doesn't want us complaining. Talking to Him is one thing. But I said, just like when you're complaining to me about everything, it doesn't make me want to bless you. It makes me want to stay away from you. Because you're complaining. I can imagine that God feels the same way. Although He never fails and He's always close to us. But, He wants to bless us when we're grateful for everything. So, that's a good one. That's a good life.
Thought.
Yeah. So we do actually have a few minutes left. I think we have 2 minutes left. So one more time, a plug where we can get that book and how much it cost.
Oh, that's the shameful thing. The soft cover is $20 from me, and the hardcover is $25. If you buy it from Amazon or from Ex Libris, I think this is $24.99, $25, and the hardcover is $34.
So it makes a lot more sense to go directly to you to P.O. Box what 834.
834.
Yeah. In Jackson,
834,
California,
Jackson,
95642. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes more sense. Save a little bit of money. And
Yeah.
yeah. Is it selling? Is it starting to sell?
It's starting to sell, and I will pay for the postage.
Okay, good. What a deal. What a deal.
Such an-
Have you guys shared your church, this testimony? Like, have you gone to churches and things like that and shared?
Yes, we did actually. There's another gentleman who wrote a children's book, and so he and Bob got together at church after church and had showed their books and let people know
Signing.
And book signings.
They
That
were-
must be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Book signings. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just official.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
And then the Lighthouse did the same thing. There was
Okay.
a book signing this summer.
Good.
Yeah.
Do you have any more book signings coming up?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to head out now, and thank you again for being on my show today. And I have a great show planned out for next week. I have a man from my church, Randy Dunbraven, and he has an amazing testimony. He's been through divorce and what God's done through the divorce. God's just done some beautiful work, but divorce is hard, and he's going to share that testimony, and also share. He also sings in our church. Has a beautiful voice, and has been involved in singing ministry for many, many years. And so he'll be blessing us with some song and some testimony. So do come back next week, and I pray you have a blessed week. We'll see you soon.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. For